Hey, what is up, everybody? Welcome back. Okay, quick question. Have you ever been in a meeting or maybe at a family dinner and you 100% disagree with what's being said, but you just sit there? You nod your head, you stay quiet, all to keep the peace. Come on, we've all done it. But what if I told you that by staying silent, you're not keeping the peace, you're actually lighting the fuse on a time bomb? Well, that is the absolutely explosive idea behind Michael Brown's book, I Don't Agree. He argues that we are smack in the middle of a huge communications crisis. See, our deep down fear of conflict has made us forget how to disagree in a healthy way, and it is silently destroying our companies, our teams, and even our personal relationships from the inside out. So, if you've ever felt that burning frustration of biting your tongue when you know you should speak up, do me a favor and smash that like button. And definitely subscribe for more deep dives that are going to help you level up your entire life. All right, here's our game plan for today. We are going to completely break down Brown's framework. First, we're going to expose the communication crisis that we're all trapped in. Then, we're going to actually calculate the jaw-dropping cost of avoiding conflict. After that, we'll unlock a powerful secret from nature by learning to think like a Finch. And finally, we are going to arm you with the ultimate tool to resolve any disagreement, the collaboration bomb. Okay, first step. What is this crisis? Brown gives it a name, the illusion of understanding. You know what I'm talking about. It's that fake harmony we create when we're just too scared to say what we really think. We tell ourselves we're keeping things calm, but what we're really doing is planting the seeds of total resentment and dysfunction. And this is where Brown just reframes the whole thing. He says that silence, it isn't peaceful. It's a betrayal of your own integrity, and it's an act of deception towards the other person. That silence doesn't make the conflict go away. It just shoves it underground where it starts to fester. And that pressure either builds up and explodes into a massive fight later, or even worse, it leaks out as that toxic, soul-crushing, passive-aggressive behavior that we all absolutely hate.
So right here, this is the first huge mindset shift you have to make. We've got to stop seeing disagreement as a threat. Brown argues that disagreement is simply data. That's it. It's not a flaw in the system. It's not a red card telling you to get off the field. It's the check engine light on your car's dashboard telling you, hey, maybe you should look under the hood. It is a gift of valuable information.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. Most of us are trapped in a culture of debate, an argument, where the only goal is to win. It's about killing the other person's idea. But Brown is pushing us to move towards dialogue. And in a dialogue, the goal isn't to win, it's to create. You're not trying to prove you're right. You're trying to combine both of your perspectives to give birth to a new, third truth that's way stronger than either of your ideas were by themselves. So why is this so hard for us? Well, it's straight up biology. See, for our ancient ancestors, if you got kicked out of the tribe, you were dead. It was a death sentence. So today, when someone disagrees with you, your primal lizard brain doesn't just hear a different opinion, it hears a threat of expulsion. That's why your heart starts pounding and you go into fight or flight mode. Our goal here is to upgrade our brain's programming, to retrain that primal instinct, to stop seeing disagreement as a threat and start seeing it as a massive opportunity for growth. All right, let's move into our second section. Because to really get motivated to change, Brown says we have to stop thinking about conflict as just an emotional problem and start seeing it for what it really is, a massive, quantifiable financial disaster. So yeah, let's pull out the calculator and reveal the hidden price tag of staying silent. Okay, get ready for this, because this number is insane. Research in the book shows that the average manager spends 20% of their time, that is one full day, every single week, just managing conflicts. Let that sink in. 1/5 of your company's leadership salary isn't going to innovation or growth. It's being burned on putting out fires that started from bad communication. And believe me, that 20% is just the tip of the iceberg. The real cost comes from 3 hidden places. First, all the wasted time in those endless meetings and back and forth email chains. Second, the poor decisions that get made, not because they're the best ideas, but because they'll cause the least amount of drama. And third, and this is a big one, staff turnover. Top talent doesn't just leave a company, they flee toxic environments where they can't speak their minds. And this is where Brown introduces this absolutely brilliant idea he calls the conflict tax. Think about it like this. Every unresolved issue acts like a hidden tax that gets slapped onto every single interaction you have after. So if a simple task that should take 1 hour ends up taking 3 hours because of arguments or passive aggression, you just paid a 200% conflict tax on that task. And he gives us a tool to figure this out. The next time there's a big disagreement, use this simple calculator. Step 1. Identify everyone who got dragged into the drama, not just the two main people. Step 2, estimate the total hours wasted by every single person involved. And step 3, add up the cost of all the cleanup, the extra meetings, the long emails. Run these numbers on the last big blow-up at your job. I guarantee you the final dollar amount will make you rethink ever staying silent again. So once we get just how staggering the cost is, how do we start to fix it? Well, that brings us to step 2, which I gotta say is my favorite part of the whole book, Be More Finch. This is all about the incredible power of adaptability. This is such a powerful metaphor from Charles Darwin's research. See, the finches on the Galapagos Islands survived because they didn't try to change the food on the island. No, they adapted their own beaks to eat the food that was already there. Brown says that in a conflict, we act like we're trying to change the whole island, when the real solution is to adapt ourselves. A conflict only lasts as long as we refuse to let our own perspective evolve. And this leads to Brown's absolute killer question that you need to ask yourself right in the middle of an argument. Would I rather be right, or would I rather have this problem solved? It is the ultimate choice, right? Do you want the short-term satisfaction of your ego being right, or do you want the long-term progress of actually being effective? Because you can't have both. To help you build this mental flexibility, this Finch-like ability to adapt, Brown offers another amazing practical tool: the different shoes exercise. When you're stuck, force yourself to answer these 3 questions. 1. If I were them, with their goals and their pressures, why would my behavior make perfect sense? 2. What information do they probably have that I might be missing? And 3. Which one of their core values, like maybe security or speed or being accurate, is my idea threatening? Okay, now for the final and honestly the most powerful step in this entire framework. We've counted the cost, we've adopted a new mindset. Now it's time to learn how to actively resolve conflict by unleashing what Brown calls the collaboration bomb, or, the C-bomb. First, we have to understand the massive difference between compromise and collaboration. In a compromise, both sides lose something. You each give up a little bit of what you want, and you end up with this weak, watered-down solution that nobody is really excited about. But in true collaboration, you don't just divide the pie, you work together to create a brand new third value solution that's bigger and better for everyone than what either of you came up with on your own. And this, right here, this is the hardest part. The key skill for all of this is what Brown calls radical listening. This is not just waiting for your turn to talk. It is entering a conversation with the genuine and, yeah, kind of terrifying, but profoundly humble intention of allowing yourself to be proven wrong. You're not listening to find flaws in their argument, you're listening to find the truth that you might have missed. So how do you create the right environment for this C-bomb to actually work? It all comes down to this triangle of trust. First, you need transparency. Everybody shares all the relevant data, even the stuff that might weaken their own argument. Second, vulnerability. Having the strength to say the 3 hardest words in the professional world: I don't know. And third, you need a superordinate goal, a shared mission that is bigger than any single person's ego. And that brings us to the ultimate, profound shift in perspective that's at the heart of this entire book. Collaboration isn't just a business tactic. It is a sign of true maturity. It's the deep understanding that in any real team, or family, or society, my success is fundamentally dependent on your success. We either win together, or we don't win at all. And listen, that is just scratching the surface of what's in here, so don't you dare go anywhere. We have got so many more powerful insights coming right up. Okay, let's just dive right in. In any conflict, we spend so much of our energy thinking about the other person. But what if the biggest obstacle isn't them? What if it's us? It's our ego. Michael Brown uses this amazing analogy. He says our pride is like saturated fat. It just builds up, quietly clogging the arteries of our communication, until nothing healthy can get through. So before we can fix a single thing out there, we've got to start right in here. First things first, we have to tame that inner ego. So let's get really clear on something we mix up all the time: pride versus confidence. They are not the same thing, not even close. See, pride isn't strength, it's just a defense mechanism. It grows out of this deep, deep fear of looking stupid or weak. When you're operating from pride, a mistake feels like a death sentence. It's a total failure. But confidence, that's built on a completely different foundation. It comes from knowing your stuff, from real experience. A confident person isn't scared of being wrong, they're scared of staying wrong. For them, a mistake isn't an ending, it's just more data. It's how you learn. So how do you actually do this? How do you get that pride under control? Well, you have to starve it. Brown calls this practice ego starvation, and it's an active choice. Think about what your ego loves to eat. Its favorite foods are being right, getting the absolute last word in, and hearing other people tell you how smart you are. So the diet is simple. You have to consciously cut off its food supply. The next time you feel that burning need to jump in and prove a point just for the sake of winning, try this. Just don't. That moment of silence, that's you starving your ego, and it's incredibly powerful. Now, this leads to one of the most effective tools you could possibly have, the no but apology. We've all gotten that fake apology, right? I'm sorry you feel that way, or I apologize, but you started it. That one little word, but, it's like an eraser. It just deletes any sincerity that came before it. It's your ego grabbing the microphone back. A real apology is clean. It's simple. You just say, I'm sorry. You take full responsibility for your piece of the mess. And then, this is the hardest part, you stop talking. No justifying, no explaining. It feels like you're swallowing your pride. But you know what? Pride has 0 calories, and letting it go will make you feel so much lighter. Okay, here is a question that you should seriously write down and stick on your computer. It is a total game changer. When you're in the middle of a heated argument and you feel yourself digging in, just stop for 1 second and ask yourself this. Am I fighting for this because it's truly the best idea on the table? Or am I fighting for it just because it's my idea? This little question does something amazing. It separates your identity from your ideas. Once you do that, you can let an idea go without feeling like you're a failure. The whole goal suddenly shifts from winning to just finding the best solution together. All right, so we've done some work on our internal world. Now let's pivot and focus on understanding the person you're talking to. And for this, Michael Brown has this really interesting concept he calls woman up. Now, let's be super clear, this isn't about gender. He's using it as a metaphor to completely reframe things like empathy and emotional awareness. These aren't soft skills. He argues they are strategic, tactical weapons in any important conversation. And you can see the whole strategy shift right here. The old way, the man-up model, is all about winning the point, right? You use dominance, you use aggressive logic, and what's the usual result? You might win the argument, but you create resentment. You've damaged the relationship. The woman-up approach changes the entire game. The goal isn't winning the point, it's building a connection. The tools aren't dominance, they are empathy and emotional intelligence. And the outcome? It's not a short-term victory, it's a stronger, more resilient long-term relationship. And the engine that powers this whole approach is what he calls strategic empathy. And let's be really, really clear about what this means. This is not about being nice. It's not about just agreeing with someone to keep the peace. Strategic empathy is an analytical tool. It's about putting yourself so deeply in their shoes that you can see the world exactly how they see it, understand their hidden fears, and figure out what they really need. And why would you do that? Because once you have that intelligence, you can craft a solution that they can actually get on board with. It's not soft, it's just incredibly smart. This quote from Brown absolutely nails it. Think about the last argument you had. I bet you were debating the facts, the words, the surface level stuff. But Brown's point is that the real fight, the thing that's actually driving all the tension, is almost always the emotion hiding underneath. It's the fear of being disrespected, the anxiety about losing control, the feeling of not being heard. If you only argue about the words, you will never, ever solve the real problem. So how do you find that hidden emotion? Well, you have to turn on your emotional radar. This means you stop just listening to the words and you start scanning everything else. So in the middle of a conversation, you start asking yourself these questions. What's the real tone hiding behind their words? Is it actually fear? What's the hidden need? Are they arguing about the project timeline, or are they really asking for more respect? And what's the energy in the room? Does it feel tense? This emotional data is where the real information is. Okay, but what about the signals that we literally can't fake? We've talked about words, we've talked about feelings, but let's talk about the most honest communicator in the room, your body. Your body language is broadcasting your true feelings way more loudly than your words ever could. And here's something wild from the world of neuroscience. Our brains are hardwired to spot these tiny, split-second facial expressions called microexpressions. We're talking about a flash of emotion that lasts for less than 1/10 of a second. You might not even consciously notice it, but your subconscious brain, your ancient threat detector, it sees it. Which means even the tiniest flicker of an emotion you're trying to hide can completely sink the whole conversation. And the crazy part is, these signals are universal, across all cultures. A tiny one-sided smirk, a little eye roll, a tightened jaw. Everyone on Earth recognizes these as signs of contempt. And all the research shows that contempt is the single most toxic, corrosive acid in any relationship. It's worse than anger, worse than frustration. It's the message that you think the other person is beneath you. And the second they sense that, it's game over. But here's the good news. You can consciously control this stuff. Your posture sends a message before you say a single word. Leaning in, squaring off, hands and fists, that's a fighting stance. But you can change the entire vibe of the room just by shifting your body. Try leaning back a little. Keep your palms open and visible. It's a primal signal that you're not a threat. And here's the magic trick. Angle your body at 90 degrees to them. Instantly, you're not two people in a face-off, you're two people looking at a problem side by side. But you gotta watch out for what Brown calls body leakage. This is hilarious when you think about it. It's when you're working so hard to keep a calm face, but your true anxiety is just leaking out of your foot that's tapping a mile a minute under the table, or your hands that can't stop clicking a pen. Their brain picks up on that nervous energy, and it creates this conflict. Your mouth is saying, I'm calm, but your body is screaming, I'm freaking out. And they're gonna believe your body every single time. So here is a super practical 1-second trick to get all this under control. Before you respond in a tense moment, do this 3-step sequence. 1, take a single deep breath way down into your diaphragm. This literally hacks your nervous system and tells your brain to calm down. 2, consciously unclench your jaw and let your shoulders drop. And 3, when you speak, just lower your vocal tone a tiny bit. This simple process sends a wave of calm through you, and that calm is contagious. Okay, for our last section, let's zoom all the way out. We've managed our ego, we've turned on our empathy, we've controlled our body. Now we're going to adopt a totally different philosophy. Michael Brown calls this going east. It's about shifting your entire mindset from seeing conflict as a fight you have to win to seeing it more like a dance you have to navigate together. So you basically have 2 different ways of thinking. Western thinking is very linear. It's like a straight line. Get from A to B as fast as you can. It's all about the goal and finding one single absolute truth. Eastern thinking is more circular. It's indirect, it's patient, and it cares more about the health of the relationship and overall harmony than it does about speed. It understands that there isn't always just one right answer, and the path forward isn't always a straight line. And a huge part of this mindset is the concept of saving face. In the West, we often want to prove the other person wrong, to back them into a corner so they have to admit defeat. The Eastern approach sees this as a total disaster because it humiliates them and creates an enemy. Instead, the goal is to build your opponent a golden bridge so they can retreat without losing their dignity. You give them an out. You might say something like, given what we knew last week, your decision was the right one. Now that we have this new information, we can adjust together. You let them save face, and you save the relationship. The perfect way to think about this is the bamboo and the oak tree. When a massive storm hits, the huge, rigid oak tree stands strong and resists the wind until it cracks and breaks. But the bamboo? The bamboo is flexible. It bends with the wind. It doesn't fight the energy. It absorbs it. And when the storm is over, it just sways back to its original position, totally fine. That's how you handle conflict. You don't meet aggression with more aggression. You bend, you absorb, and you gently guide things back to center. And this all leads to a really profound final point. A true agreement, the kind that actually sticks, isn't just a contract. It's not just words on a piece of paper. The real deal, the real agreement, is a human connection. It's when you have a meeting of hearts and minds that's built on real respect and a deep understanding of each other. And that's just scratching the surface. Don't go anywhere, we've got even more powerful insights coming right up.
We've all been there, right? You're in a disagreement, and suddenly the person you're talking to morphs from a totally reasonable human into, well, a villain. I'm here to tell you, you're not imagining it. It's a real psychological trap, and it's called the animosity blindfold. And today we are going to learn how to tear that thing right off.
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to tackle this in 4 parts, inspired by the brilliant work of Michael Brown. First, we're going to expose the mental traps that keep us stuck in conflict. Then, we'll learn how to find a guide to get us out. After that, we'll uncover a super counterintuitive final move. And finally, we'll build a whole new way of thinking about disagreement itself. Let's do this.
Okay, part 1. This is probably the single most important thing to understand in any conflict. Your brain, trying to be helpful, actually puts on a blindfold. And this blindfold completely warps reality. It makes you see the other person not as a person, but as an enemy. So how does this even happen?
Well, it starts with something called demonization. Now, look, this doesn't make you a bad person. It just means your brain is efficient. Maybe a little too efficient, It's just so much easier to slap a label on someone like stubborn or clueless than it is to really wrestle with their point of view. And just like that, the first knot of the animosity blindfold is tied.
So how do you catch yourself doing it?
You have to listen to the words you're using, even just inside your own head. Are you talking about the what, the idea, the plan, the data, or have you shifted to attacking the who? The second you hear yourself thinking words like always or never, that is a massive red flag. You're not debating anymore. You're demonizing.
And then, as if that wasn't enough, our brain just doubles down with this classic mental glitch, the fundamental attribution error. This is a huge one. Basically, when we mess up, it's because of the situation. But when they mess up, it's because of their character. It's this little trick our ego plays to protect itself, but man, it absolutely wrecks our relationships. And this, right here, shows you exactly how it works in real life. If I'm late, hey, it was the traffic. It was out of my control. But if they're late, our brain immediately jumps to a conclusion about who they are as a person. They're irresponsible, they're disrespectful. We give ourselves a pass, but we judge them instantly.
So how in the world do we fight our own brain's programming? Brown has this amazing fix. We have to consciously shut down our brain's negative confirmation filter. You know, that little voice that's constantly looking for evidence to prove the other person is a jerk. And we do that by becoming a goodness detective, actively hunting for clues that tell a different story.
And this is the actual work. I'm not gonna lie, it can feel really unnatural at first. You might have to literally force yourself to sit down and list 3 good things about them. You have to put on your detective hat and ask, okay, what else could be going on here? What pressures are they under? And maybe the most powerful move of all, what if you just assumed their intentions were good, or at least not evil? This is how you start to rehumanize them and untie that blindfold.
But let's be real, what if you're so deep in it, so angry that you can't even imagine them having a single good quality? You're stuck in total tunnel vision. That's when you have to call for backup. And that brings us to our second big idea, the incredible power of a third party. Now, this is absolutely key. You have to pick the right person. Our first instinct is to run to a supporter, our friend who's going to say, "You're totally right, they're awful." And yeah, that feels good for a minute, but it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. What you really need is an objective observer, someone who isn't on your side or their side, but on the side of the relationship. Someone who's brave enough to tell you what you need to hear, not just what you want to hear. And this is why it's so unbelievably effective. When you're in a conflict, you're lost. You're on the ground in a dense forest of details of he said, she said, you can't see anything. Your objective observer? They're in a helicopter. They see the whole map. They see the patterns, the dead ends, and most importantly, they see the way out.
Okay, get ready because this is one of the most powerful next-level techniques in the whole book. Instead of just venting to your observer, you're going to ask them to do something that sounds crazy. You ask them to actually argue on behalf of your opponent.
Hearing your opponent's side, but from the voice of someone you trust, it's like a system shock. It just completely bypasses all your defenses. An argument that sounded totally irrational coming from your enemy can suddenly sound, well, kind of reasonable. Seriously, this move alone can vaporize that animosity blindfold in seconds.
So you've taken off the blindfold. You've gotten the helicopter view. You see things clearly now, but you're still stuck. Both of you are just dug in. It's time for the final escape plan. And it's not about fighting harder or being smarter. It's about something that sounds like the opposite, a powerful surrender. Think about any conflict as a game of tug-of-war. The game only works as long as both people are pulling on the rope with all their might, right? But what happens if one person just lets go? The game is instantly over. The tension vanishes, the entire dynamic collapses.
Now, let's be crystal clear. This is not weakness. It is not giving up. It is the ultimate power move. You are the one taking control and deciding that the fight itself is over. It's a strategic choice you make when you realize that the cost of winning is way higher than the cost of the disagreement. You're not losing the battle, you're choosing to win a much bigger war for the relationship or for progress.
To do this, you have to make a huge mental shift. You have to stop being a wrestler obsessed with defending your small piece of turf and pinning your opponent. Instead, you have to become an architect. An architect doesn't care about the rubble of the fight. They're looking at the empty space and asking, okay, what can we build here, together, now? Their eyes are on the future.
And this is what the architect is trying to build. See, they understand that trying to force someone to change their fundamental beliefs is a losing game. That's demanding an agreement on belief. The architect aims for something much more practical, an agreement on action. It's basically saying, look, we are never going to see eye to eye on this, and that's okay. But can we just agree on what to do next? That's where all progress begins.
When you start to put all these pieces together, it does more than just help you with one argument. It actually gives you a whole new operating system for dealing with conflict, a new philosophy for how we disagree.
And this is a truth we have to get back to, especially today. We live in these echo chambers where any disagreement can feel like a personal attack. But friction is what makes things move. A respectful "I don't agree" isn't a threat, it's a gift. It shows you a blind spot, it makes your ideas stronger. It's literally the engine of all progress and innovation.
So when you boil it all down, all the steps, all the techniques, it really comes down to practicing these 3 core virtues. They are the simple, powerful antidote to all the toxic conflict out there.
And this chart just lays it out so perfectly. Curiosity is what replaces judgment. It's what makes you a goodness detective. Courage is what replaces defensiveness. It's what gives you the strength to find that third party and to let go of the rope. And kindness replaces hostility. It's the strategic choice to make sure that the friction of disagreement leads to something better, not just a burnt-out machine.
Thank you so much for digging into all of these powerful ideas with me today. Seriously, this stuff can change everything. So now I have a question for you. Think back to a disagreement you had recently. It could be big or small. Looking at these 3 game changers, which single one do you think would have made the biggest difference? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear about it.
I am genuinely so excited to read your stories and see what resonates. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, stay curious.